You might be wondering how Taylor's idea of scientific management fits into your UPSC preparation and why it keeps appearing in governance and public administration questions. By the end of this video, you will be completely clear about what scientific management is and how to use it in answers. We will start simple, build a clear picture, and then link the idea to exam perspectives and modern practice. First, think of a factory or a busy office where every motion and second counts. Scientific management is an approach that studies work scientifically to raise productivity and reduce waste. It was developed by Frederick Winslow Taylor in the late 1800s and is often called Taylorism. The core aim was economic efficiency. Make each task faster, cheaper, and measurable. Taylor argued that common sense or apprenticeship methods were unreliable and that work should be analyzed empirically. Imagine timing each step of a task with a stopwatch and then designing the best possible method. Taylor used time and motion studies to identify the one best way to perform each element of a job. He also recommended scientific selection and training so the right person does the right job the right way. Another key idea was separating planning from doing. Managers plan, workers execute. So each side specializes. Taylor introduced functional foremanship, where specialists handled planning, inspection, and timekeeping instead of a single foreman. He noticed that rest breaks could increase overall output because they reduced fatigue, challenging older beliefs. He also observed soldiering, where workers deliberately worked slowly and proposed incentives to counter it. A famous tool was the differential piece rate system. Workers who exceeded standards earned higher pay. These methods brought big efficiency gains and shaped disciplines like industrial engineering and operations management. But Taylorism had real social consequences that UPSC questions often probe: alienation, de-skilling, and labor resistance. Fragmenting work into narrow tasks often left workers disconnected from the product, producing a sense of anomie or meaninglessness. Where managers applied Taylor's methods without sharing gains or consulting workers, unions grew stronger and strikes followed. A classic case is the Watertown Arsenal, where Taylorist methods sparked opposition, congressional inquiry, and worker unrest. The lesson: technical fixes alone can fail if human welfare and fairness are ignored. Over time, Taylorism also enabled de-skilling. Standard methods made it easier to replace skilled craftspeople with lower skilled labor. This trend, combined with automation and offshoring, contributed to job displacement and wage pressure in parts of industry. Yet many modern management methods still owe something to Taylor's emphasis on measurement and standardization. Methods like Lean, Kaizen, and Six Sigma keep the idea of analyzing processes, but they add employee involvement and continuous improvement. Contemporary practice balances efficiency with ergonomics, job design, and participative management to avoid earlier abuses. For UPSC answers, you should present both sides: how Taylor advanced productivity and how his methods produced social costs. Use an analogy. Think of Taylor as a surgeon who fixed industrial problems with a scalpel, but sometimes forgot the patient. This helps explain why later schools, like human relations, emphasized motivation, group dynamics, and worker dignity. In essays, link Taylorism to broader themes: industrialization, labor politics, modernization of administration, and policy trade-offs. Mention how performance metrics, SOPs, and quality control in government and public enterprises reflect Taylorist heritage. Also highlight critiques: narrow focus on output, potential to ignore employee voice, and the normative choices behind time standards. And towards the end, we will understand a key idea that most UPSC aspirants miss: measurement is never neutral. It reflects values and choices. Practically, when you answer questions, give examples. Time and motion studies, piece rate incentives, Watertown Arsenal, and modern Kaizen. Quote the core principles concisely. Develop a science for each task. Select and train workers scientifically. Cooperate. Separate planning and execution. Then critically evaluate gains in efficiency versus alienation, de-skilling, and the need for fair reward systems. For prelims, remember keywords and definitions. For mains, build arguments with historical examples and policy implications. A short model line you can use in an answer. Taylorism pioneered scientific study of work, boosting productivity, but creating social tensions that required managerial reform. Remember, examiners value balance, show understanding of technical methods, and sensitivity to human and institutional effects. Quick recap. Taylor introduced scientific study, time and motion analysis, functional foremanship, and incentive pay to increase efficiency. Consequences included higher output, de-skilling, worker alienation, and stronger unions when gains were not shared. Modern management borrows measurement and standardization, but blends them with employee involvement and continuous improvement. You now have a clear exam-ready map. Definition, principles, benefits, criticisms, examples, and policy lessons. If you practice writing one balanced paragraph and one evaluative paragraph, you will master answers on this topic. Keep these points handy for GS papers and public administration optional questions where historical context and critique matter. Thanks for sticking with this walkthrough. Apply these ideas in practice answers and mock tests. For more concise notes, model answers, and quizzes on scientific management, continue learning with EduRev. Stay curious, practice balanced writing, and remember that efficiency and fairness must go hand in hand for sustainable reform.